Okay.
All right.
Okay, so thank you everybody for coming. What we are going to do, we will be no more than 30 minutes, unless people stay on for questions and answers after that, and feel free to do that. We are going to get into Google Classroom 1 and do more of an overview of the tools and some different things that way. If there's things that you have questions about or that you'd like to see more of, Kate is going to drive the car with the presentation. I'm going to moderate the chat. So I'm going to put in here the link to this. Once we get going, I'll put in the link.
Kate? Yes? I can't see. Is that Kate?
That is, yeah, it is. Yep. So one thing, if your microphone isn't muted, if you couldn't mute that, and only because what it does is it lags the when you've got a lot more people in here, it lags it. So you can just do that down at the bottom and click on the microphone.
Okay.
Welcome, Jim.
Jim is in Jim Hollinger?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Kate. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So we are going to get into Classroom. I'm going to put in the shareable link that you are welcome to take this presentation. I'll also put it in there at the end of our stuff here. Let me just grab it. Ask questions that you'd like. Like I said, when you do a Google Hangout Meet and you are presenting, you can't see the people. Just like kind of talking to a screen. So I'll be handling the chat. Kate will be handling the computer. So Kate and I have been sending each other these different memes and gifs and all that stuff. So it's funniness. So looking at this, if anybody has kids that are at home and you're trying to frantically keep them occupied or on a schedule or something like that, homeschooling day 3, they're all graduated. So that just cracked us up. I've got a 3-year-old upstairs right now as my wife is trying to do a lesson with him and making cards for his grandparents. So if we look, that's our day 3. Day 4, if you are,
I took it out. I wasn't sure if my computer was gonna be slow.
Nope. So this is also one that's real, and when your kids are eating family-sized bag of tortilla chips for breakfast, you realize you don't have to cook. At this point, you're going to allow it. It's a little bit of humor, and then our third one.
This is my favorite.
So what we want to do is give you some tools for thinking of planning first, and then we'll get into Google Classroom. So our next slide gets into, and I like to put this in here because I think one thing everybody's worrying about is overcomplicating or over-stressing about how much do I have to make, all these different things, how it's going to be different, and it will be very different in some ways. But the keys to success of doing all this aren't that different than being in the classroom, being prepared, being flexible, and being adaptable. And I like this picture because it shows school spirit. I'm the basketball coach, so I'm a little biased with it, but I think this is something for us all to remember. And the parade, filled everybody's hearts yesterday with remembering why we're doing this, what we're here for, and all of that stuff. So our next slide then gets into a weekly template. So this is something that you could, and if you click on, Kate's not going to click on it because your computer is horribly slow, but if you clicked on the picture, it'll give you a copy of this weekly organizational view. And this is something that we took from the LIU, sent out a bunch of professional development stuff that you are free to take, use, don't use, remix it, however it would work for you. I like looking at this because it helps me organize my weekly view. For students, you could also give this out to the kids, depending on your age level, or to the parents. These are things that you have to complete, and then these are things you have to submit. So if you are a teacher that's doing stuff for submissions online, these are things you have to submit on this day, and that's a good organization to submit on this day, and that's a good organization.
We're good?
Yeah. No, I'm getting a little back up. Yeah. No, I'm getting a little back up.
Yes, so am I.
Yes, so
Kate and Mark, could you try muting your?
Kate and Mark, could you try muting your?
Ready? Ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah. So our next one, this is a graphic that you're free to share out with families, use yourself. This is Oreo online learning and objective responsibility, expectation, and organization. And if you click on that graphic, it's going to bring up a copy of something that you can use. And I know we all have our own lesson planning templates that we use, but this is something that you could, again, use, remix however it would work for you on like what your learning objectives are for that activity, that day, that subject. If you're going to do something that's interdisciplined, what is that going to be for all of that? And then who the responsibility is, what the pace is, all of those different things. We want to make sure that people for looking at holistically weekly view, and then also for a daily view. And then the next slide that keeps getting to is something that you can make for your kids. And again, these are templates that you can use and remix however it would work for you if you like them. And these are just working off the 3-day schedule of, okay, these are my checklist items that you could build for the kids to know exactly what they need to do for that day. They can check it off, and it organizes that for them. I just changed the colors to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing for them. So those are just some different things that you can do for helping the kids remain organized and all that, those different things. So Kate, if you want to go to the next one. So now we're going to get it actually into Google Classroom.
And we're just going to go over some of the basics and some of the basic features, but we can go more in depth in another session. Or if there's something that you would like us to go over that we didn't think of for this session, go ahead and put it in the chat box and Andy can get back to you, or we can demonstrate whatever it is that you're looking for. So don't be shy about the chat box. The first thing that I have on here, which I'm not going to go over because I find that like 70 to 80% of the people know how to make a classroom. But if you don't, this is a screencast that we made. It's a video to show you how to create a classroom, how to use the classwork instead of the stream page, and the basic overall layout of your classroom, and how to change, just the pictures and things like that. Also, how to add students, we're going to skip over, but it's on here. So you do have access to this presentation if you need to go back and reference it. So we're going to start here on how to organize work, because this is generally different than previous Google Classroom setups. In the past, you've just had a stream where you just pushed out an assignment and it was like Facebook, here's your assignment, here's your next assignment, and then the work would just move down on the page. But now Google Classroom has this really nice way to organize your work in the classwork section. So when you post things to Google Classroom, you'll want to utilize the classwork section. It's the best way to keep things organized and a better flow of things. Think of it as like your overall warehouse of your curriculum and the things that the students need to go through. This year, the thing that's really new is using topics as your folders or your units. So previously, you could not organize information into groups. Now you can create a topic, and that will be your folder. So that's a good way to organize by weeks, by content, by whatever you need to do. The material, which I have circled, is probably one of the most underutilized aspects of Google Classroom. It's something that you can push out to students with directions, kind of an agenda, and then attach multiple different things to. So if I'm going to push out information on main idea, I can attach a video, an article, a website, and like whatever I need to do, like 5 or 6 different things to one piece of information, so that it's not going to clog my entire screen with materials. It's all going to be in one section. And so think about materials as more of a student consumption. Like, what do the students need to consume and digest to understand what it is you're trying to teach them? And that's when you want to use the materials option. For student production, for student output, is when you would use the assignment, quiz, or question option. And then the only thing I didn't really go over yet on this is the question, which we'll get at later, but then the reuse post. So let's say you're creating materials and assignments this year. If you go to do the same thing next year, all you need to do is hit reuse post, pull up your old classroom, and you can reuse the same post. You don't need to retype it or reassign or whatever it is that you need to do. So that's an option as well. So how to post work in multiple classrooms. So if you are a specialist, or maybe you are, maybe you have multiple different sections, or maybe you're on the second grade team and you're in charge of the math lessons, but you're going to post math lessons in everybody's classroom. So one of the things you can do, as long as you are a co-teacher, as long as you've been added as a collaborator, you can choose which sections that you are going to be posting in. So again, when you create an assignment, it'll ask you for what classes, you choose the classes, and then you can push out the assignment to each of those sections at the same time by only going into one Google Classroom. But the only caveat is you need to have access to everyone's classroom, so they'll need to make you a co-teacher, which would be under the People's tab. So you can schedule assignments. So if I want to schedule a Google Meet, or I want to do an assignment of some sort that I'm going to get ahead of myself and I'm going to prepare it now, but I don't want it ready until Monday, I can hit the assign option and it'll give me the calendar where I can pick the exact date and time that it gets pushed out to students and goes live. The only problem is if you want to do that among multiple different sections, it's not an option at this time. So you cannot schedule something if you're scheduling in more than one classroom. You can only use the schedule feature for one classroom. Okay, so there is an option. We're not doing grades, but if we go back to the real world and you want to give a quiz, or if you're just doing like a trivia or something fun for the kids at home, if they have a Chromebook, they could take a quiz by doing a lockdown mode, which means when they hit that quiz and you've chose the option of lockdown mode, they will only see like in present mode. They won't see any tabs. The quiz will take over the computer screen so that they can only click on the quiz. They can't click out of it. If they try to click out of it, they won't see it. To get out of the quiz, they hit escape or they hit submit. But it's a nice way so that you know that if they are, doing a form of whatever and they're giving you some responses, they aren't looking it up on Google. I mean, they could, if they're at home, they could be asking a sibling, a friend, or a parent, but at least they're not searching the web. A participation post. So this is a neat feature where you can push out a question. So if you are unsure of how to get kids interested in coming to your Google Classroom, you could post, a daily trivia about yourself, or you could post a daily question, what's your favorite quarantine activity, or whatever it is that it may be. You can post that on your classroom page, and then you can choose whether the students respond and see each other's responses and reply to each other's responses, or they can respond just to you. And there's even an option that if they can respond and everybody sees it, on the right-hand side in the student view, you won't see it as a teacher, but as a student, you'll be able to see, or the students will be able to see a different box where it'll say just respond to the teacher. So even if you do have the option open where everybody can see each other's response, if the student doesn't feel comfortable, they can respond just to you. And if anyone wants to see that, we can figure a way to get in as a student at some point. So if you have students who did not come and get their Chromebooks and they are going to be accessing their work from home without a district device, then what they're going to want to do is go to the district website, go to the student portal, and use the Google Easy Login. And once they're logged in through Google Easy Login on that device, they can access your Google Classroom, iReady, RazKids, whatever it may be. But that's kind of like the golden ticket to get into all of the other things that we provide. And Andy made this directions for parents. So we made this link available publicly. So if you want to copy this or click on it and then share it, you are more than welcome to do so. But it gives them step-by-step onto how to get to the student portal, like what do we mean by student portal, and then how to access things through Google Easy Login. So that is there for you to use and for you to share with parents. It is a public link. Okay, so assignment calendar. We do have a Google Calendar with the district. Obviously, that has all of our things on it. But then you also, with Google Classroom, have a separate Google Classroom that is specific to your classroom. You can put your dates, your due dates, any things that any questions that you've posted. It'll all pop up on your calendar. And if you would like to share the calendar with your parents, here is a link. I'm not going to click on it for time's sake. Wait, what time is this over? 11. What is it?
So 11:15. So we're okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll walk you through how to share your Google Classroom calendar, not your district calendar, but your Google Classroom calendar with parents so that they can be on top of different assignments that are due, and just all the communication that you are putting out. And then if you are interested, if you decide to build a classroom site, which is an option because we all have Google Sites available, then you can embed your Google Calendar right into your site. And so it's like a one-stop shop for parents. They can come, they can see the assignments that you have posted, they can see your assignment calendar and any information that you have available. And so here is a video which is available to you that I'm not going to go through. My computer might melt down. And then step-by-step directions as to how to do that so that you can be, more transparent so that with, remote learning, it's better to just have more information available to the parents. Gradebook is not something that we're going to need this marking period, but in the future, this is a neat little video. It's also a new feature for Google Classroom. So this might be something that you might want to check out. Because in the past, you'd have to go into each student's document, give them feedback, record the grade on the piece of paper, and then go into, wherever. Whereas this, you just go to the grade book, click on the student, it pops up, you grade it, put it in the grade book, move on. So it's a pretty simple tool, but it has everything also in one place. And so, yeah, go ahead.
As we look at little tidbits as you're building different things, most of our work, if not all of it's going to be asynchronous, meaning that the kids are going to be working on their own time with that. Consider chunking learning and creating playlists or something that isn't like a big blurb all at once, whether that's through a choice board or otherwise, anything like that. Always know and consider that assignments are done at home are going to take twice as long as they would in school, to a number of different factors, whether it be they're trying to juggle, their parents' time if the parents need to be helping them, or just they don't have you right there. There's different things, and that if you're going to do any video stuff, which is a great way to engage them, a great way. There's a lot of different things out there that you can use. You want to keep it between 3 to 5 minutes, and we say that it can be less than that. Like, it could be a 30 seconds is a good one too, but after that 3 to 5 minute mark, you're gonna lose them. I get lost. Kate sends me 11-minute stuff and I don't watch it.
That happened once.
And once is more than it was supposed to happen. So, those different things are some good things to consider. The next slide gives a spreadsheet that you can go to that gives face-to-face to online tools conversions. So, direct instruction. What are some tools and things that you can use that would be helpful? So, in there it has, things like Loom or Zoom that you can use Hangouts Meet for, screencastifying tools that you could screencastify for your, if you wanted to give a 3-minute lesson or something on that, different read and respond stuff, different tools you can have. And the last slide is a quick 2-minute read from Edutopia that talks about shifting to online learning. And teaching those different things. And the big one at the top is simplicity is key. I think that's important to keep remembering. There's individual touch points that we all do. We all have still a buzz from the parade yesterday, but as we potentially get deeper and deeper into April, keeping that community, those there's ways of doing that, whether it's a short video you send out to your kiddos, or you're sending, checking in through emails or calls, or whatever that be. Those are important things. So I think as Kate and I do more and more of these, we lose track of how much time everything's going to be.
I know.
So
Whenever.
if we went fast and you want us to go back to something, please, let us know. We, like I said, we don't want to be more than 30 minutes because everybody's got their time of things and all that stuff. Any questions that you have that you'd like to open up, you can put it in the chat here. If you got what you need, you are free to go and live your life and do those different things. But we'll stick around, and any questions you have, we're here for you.
One of the things that we showed in the past that we can show again real quick is some of the speech teachers, for example, are asking how, if you have different kids that need different things, how do you assign that in Google Classroom so that others can't see it? And so it's really simple. If you go into your classroom and hit create, and you pick your assignment that you need, whatever you need to push out to them over here, you come over and you, instead of clicking all students, you unhighlight the all students, and maybe you just needed to go to Joanna, or maybe you need to go to like 4 people, whatever it is. But when you push it out to them, I'm not going to hit assign because it'll alert them. But if you hit assign, they are the only ones that will be able to see that you assigned it to them. So if you're not part of that group, you will have no clue that the teacher pushed out an assignment to that group. And if you're in that group, you won't know that you got it and nobody else did, if that makes sense. So that's a way to, have your assignments pushed out to individual groups. Another thing is, I know we talked about, I kind of maybe rushed over it, is that if you are creating these topics right here, so like resource is a topic, here are your materials. You can put links to like your Google site, your office hours. If you want to pin your video link so that, they can pop in. The only problem is they'll be able to pop in at any time. So you might want to, take this on and off. You can schedule it so that they can't just go in and hang out without you. But that's always an idea as well. Or you can make that a rule, like, hey, you're not, depending on how old your students are, no one is allowed in there without me, kind of thing. Or you can't go in without these, or just tell them you can't log in between those hours. And then we suggested maybe organizing it by week. So then they know how to look, because we really don't know how long this is going to go. But if you organize it by week and then have your days available, or days labeled, day 1, day 2. Deanna Fearon did something kind of neat. We made a website, but if you end up, I know this is more of the advanced, but we have a few seconds. If you do a Google site for your classroom, and then you can embed docs and things, but you can make a page for each week. So like week 1 would be April 6th. And I stole this from Deanna. I'm sure that she said it's not finished. There's some tweaking to do, and she still has to get things approved. But the idea is they would just go to this one page on day 1. These are the things that they would need to accomplish. Day 2, and some of these links would take her kids back to the Google Classroom where they would be submitting the assignment. So that's always an idea as well. And there you have it. So any final questions?
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Andy and Kate.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Stephanie, are you bored? That's 2 of them in a row.
No, I've learned a lot.
Really? I thought you would be like the
Yeah.
same thing.
Jolie,
Oh, they were different. They were very different.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have
One more, right?
Yeah, one more. 11:30.
Very nice.
Have you had good participation so far?